The wind howled across the frozen land of northern Alaska. Snow whipped in every direction, and the air was sharp like knives. But under the thick layers of ice and snow, something ancient had been waiting. Tom was a quiet geologist. He loved studying rocks, mountains, and glaciers for the last 5 years. He had worked at a small research station built near a frozen ridge. It wasn't a busy place, only a few scientists lived there. Studying the Earth, Tom liked the peace and quiet. One night, the ground began to shake. At first, it was small, a light tremor, but then it grew stronger. The walls of the research station rattled. Books fell from shelves, coffee mugs shattered on the floor. Earthquake, someone shouted. Tom ran outside, holding his thick coat tight against the storm. The sky was full of dancing lights, auroras flashing in green and blue. But the earth beneath him was breaking open. A massive crack formed in the glacier nearby, stretching hundreds of meters across the ice. After a few minutes, the shaking stopped. In the silence that followed, everyone just stared at the deep crack. Something strange was reflecting light from inside it. Not ice, not rock, something smooth, something shiny. Tom narrowed his eyes. That doesn't belong here, he said. The next morning, Tom and a small team went out to inspect the crack. With him was Lena, a young tech expert who handled most of the station's equipment. She was smart, curious, and always asking questions. They climbed down carefully using ropes and gear. At the bottom of the crack, Tom brushed away snow and ice from the strange surface. His fingers touched cold metal. It's not a rock, he said. It's a machine. Lena scanned it with her tools. Her tablet lit up with strange readings. It's generating low energy, but it's old, really old. They kept digging for hours. More of the structure appeared. It wasn't just a machine, it was massive, curved. Black metal with glowing lines running through it. It was shaped like a part of a ship, but not a ship made by humans. Tom stood silently, feeling both wonder and fear. Lena, he said, I think we just found something not from Earth. Within a day, the world changed for them. News of the discovery reached the Global Science Council. A helicopter arrived carrying soldiers and scientists. They called it a containment mission. But Tom knew it was really a takeover. Their peaceful research work had become a top-secret operation. A new team set up a camp around the crack. More of the alien object was uncovered. It was indeed a ship, at least the front of one. No one knew how long it had been buried under the ice. Some guessed thousands of years. Others said millions. Tom wasn't allowed to lead anymore. But the new director let him stay as a consultant. Lena, too, stayed because of her skill with unknown systems. As more of the ship was revealed, everyone realized just how strange it was. The metal didn't rust. It healed itself when scratched. The doors opened and closed like they were alive. And deep inside, there was a central control room, full of glowing panels and screens, none of which anyone could understand. Then, something unexpected happened. One evening, while most of the team was resting, Tom and Lena were allowed a short visit inside the ship's front chamber. Lena brought her tablet, hoping to scan more data from the ship's systems. It still has power. Lena whispered, I can feel it. Something's awakened here. Tom ran his hand along a wall that pulsed with dim blue light. It's watching. US, he said without meaning to. The thought had just come into his head, and he didn't know why. Suddenly, one of the panels lit up. Symbols appeared, floating in the air. Lena gasped. Did I touch something? Tom stepped back. I didn't do anything. More lights came on. The floor shifted slightly, as if the ship itself was waking up, one by one. The alien symbols started to rearrange. They twisted, turned, and reformed into something familiar. English reality editor system booting. Tom blinked. What does that mean? Before Lena could answer, her tablet began to flash. New data flooded the screen, numbers, codes, strange energy patterns. Then a loud humming noise filled the air, and something in the center of the room began to rise. It was a round console, glowing softly, with a screen that seemed to shift like water. This is not just a ship, Lena said slowly. This is something much more. Alarms went off outside the ship. More people rushed in. Soldiers held up weapons. The lead commander, a sharp-eyed man named Vance, shouted. "What did you activate?" Tom tried to explain. "We didn't touch anything. It turned on by itself." The floating message was still visible above the console. Reality editor system booting. "Please stand by." Lena looked around nervously. "I think we just started something we don't understand." Later that night, Tom sat in his tent, staring at the sky. The auroras were brighter now, swirling like rivers of light. He didn't know what the reality editor was, but the ship was no ordinary tool. It had been sleeping under Earth's ice for a reason, and now it was waking up. He had a strange feeling in his chest, excitement, fear, wonder. "What are you?" he whispered. "To the stars." And somewhere inside the ship, something old and powerful was listening. The next morning, the camp was full of noise. Soldiers, scientists, and engineers moved around quickly. Some were setting up new equipment. Others guarded the ship, standing near the crack in the ice with serious faces and loaded weapons inside the tent. Tom sat quietly, reading the notes he had taken the night before. He couldn't forget the message they had seen. Reality editor system booting. It sounded too strange to be real. But the floating letters, the console, and the strange energy, they were all real. Tom had seen them with his own eyes. Lena entered the tent, holding her tablet tightly. "You won't believe this," she said. Tom looked up. "What happened?" "I stayed up all night checking the ship's signals," Lena said. "It's still sending out energy, but it's not normal energy. It's changing form every second like it's alive." Tom frowned. "Alive, yes, and the console it's scanning us." Tom stood up, scanning. Lena nodded. "It's reading us, not just our bodies. It's reading our thoughts, our memories, even our emotions." Tom sat down slowly. "That's not a machine. That's something else." Before Lena could reply, a soldier opened the tent flap. "You're wanted in the command tent now." The command tent was bigger than the others, filled with computers and screens. Commander Vance stood in the middle, staring at a large monitor showing the inside of the alien ship. The floating console was active. Its light pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. "Sit down," Vance said without looking at them. Tom and Lena sat. "We've been watching the console since it appeared," Vance said. "It's connected to the whole ship. It has control over every system inside." Lena glanced at Tom. "We guessed that. What we didn't guess," Vance said, turning to them, "is that it responds only to you two." Tom blinked. "What?" "It lights up when you enter the room. It goes dark when you leave. We sent in 5 other people. Nothing happened. But when you're there," Vance pointed to the screen, "it wakes up." Lena sat up straighter. "Maybe it trusts us." Vance narrowed his eyes. "Or maybe it's using you." There was a tense silence in the room. Then Vance continued, "We want answers. What is the reality editor? What does it do?" Tom shook his head. "We don't know yet. We're trying to learn." "You have 48 hours, Vance said. "After that, we bring in deeper tech. We'll break open the core if we have to." Lena gasped. "You can't. You'll destroy everything." Vance leaned closer. "Then find out how it works before we do." Back inside the ship, Lena and Tom returned to the glowing console. As they approached, the symbols appeared again. This time, they formed into full words. "Welcome, living users. Editor online." Tom's heart beat faster. "It knows we're here." A soft voice spoke, not through speakers, but inside their minds. It was calm and gentle. "This system edits physical layers. Current environment. Earth-based rules. Request input." Lena stared. "Did it say physical layers?" Tom stepped closer. "What do you mean by edit?" The console shifted. A screen opened, showing a small 3D image of a rock. Text appeared below. Object, stone. Mass, 2.5 kilograms. Status, editable. Lena tapped the stone's image and typed a number. New mass, 0.1 kg. The console beeped. A stone sitting near the wall began to glow, then shrank. It became light as paper. Tom stared in shock. "You just changed the rock's weight." Lena looked amazed. "It changed reality." The console beeped again. Caution. Reality edits inside ship only. External changes disabled. Tom whispered, "This ship, it's like a sandbox, a safe zone for editing the universe." Lena nodded slowly. "But if it can edit objects, what else can it edit?" Later that evening, they returned to their tent. Neither of them spoke for a while. They just sat, staring at the ground. Then Lena said softly, "Do you think this ship could be dangerous?" Tom didn't answer at first. Then he said, "I think it depends on who uses it." Lena looked worried. "If the government takes it, if they use it the wrong way, they could rewrite anything." Tom finished, "Laws of nature, time, life." Lena looked outside the tent window. The ship's lights still glowed in the distance. "This isn't just alien technology," she said. "It's something bigger." Tom nodded. "It's a tool for changing the world." The next day, Tom had an idea. "If this thing has a memory," he said, "maybe we can ask it where it came from." Back inside the ship, Lena approached the console. "Can you show us your creators?" she asked. The console flickered. "Accessing archive. Species name, Velari. Memory file found." The air shimmered. A hologram appeared in front of them, a tall alien figure with silver skin, long arms, and glowing eyes. It spoke in a language they didn't know, but the console translated the words into sound. "We are the Velari. We created the reality editor to shape perfection. But perfection is a trap. We now sleep. We leave this tool for those who seek not power, but balance." Then the hologram vanished. Lena whispered, "They built it and then abandoned it." Tom looked at the console. Because it was too much, the console gave one last message: "Do not repeat our mistake." Back in the command tent, Vance was not happy. "You've made progress," he said. "Good. Now move faster." Tom stood up. "This tool is not a weapon. It's not meant to be controlled by force." Vance stepped closer. "We don't care what it's meant for. If it works, we use it." Tom said nothing. But inside, he knew they had to protect the ship before someone used it to change the world in a terrible way. That night, as the stars lit the sky and the auroras danced brighter than ever, Tom sat outside the tent and looked at the glowing crack. A ship buried for ages. A tool that could change reality. And a message from long-dead aliens who had once tried to play with the laws of nature and failed. He wondered if humanity was ready for such power. He wasn't sure. But the editor had chosen them for a reason, and something told him the real test was just beginning. The air around the alien ship was getting strange, even though the sun rose like usual. The sky above the glacier looked different. The light had a strange color, more violet than blue. The snow sparkled oddly, and sometimes people heard soft, humming sounds even when the wind was still. Tom noticed it first. He picked up a handful of snow outside his tent and watched it melt. But instead of turning into water, it turned into steam instantly. "That's not right," he whispered. Inside the command tent, Lena was already checking the ship's energy patterns. The reality editor's power had increased slowly, but clearly, the field inside the ship was growing, spreading a few feet beyond its walls. It was starting to affect the world around it. Tom joined her, and she showed him her screen. "This is new," she said. "Yesterday, the editor's field was limited to the control room. Now, it's leaking out." "Can we stop it?" Tom asked. Lena shook her head. "I don't think it's meant to be stopped. I think it's testing us." Commander Vance was not happy. When Lena reported the changes, he demanded answers. "Why is the snow changing? Why are our sensors acting weird?" Tom stood calmly. "Because the ship is editing reality." Vance crossed his arms. "Outside the ship, yes," Lena said. "It's expanding its field, slowly, like it's reaching out." Vance stared at them both. "Is it dangerous?" Lena paused. "Only if we push it the wrong way." Vance didn't like that answer. He turned to one of his officers. "Begin lockdown. No one goes near the ship unless I give the order." Tom stepped forward. "That's a mistake. If we treat it like a threat, it might defend itself." Vance ignored him. That evening, Tom sat alone near the edge of the glacier. The stars above were shining, but something felt off. It was quiet to quiet. Even the usual sound of snow crunching under boots seemed distant. Lena joined him. sitting down beside him. I ran another test, she said. Tom looked at her. What kind? I asked the editor to fix a broken piece of metal. It repaired it instantly. Tom raised his eyebrows. It healed it? Lena nodded. Like it turned back time for that object. Tom looked up at the sky. This thing doesn't just control objects. It can change time, space, maybe even life itself. Lena lowered her voice. If it keeps expanding, it could rewrite everything. The next morning, strange things began to happen around the camp. A soldier walked past the tent, and his shadow split into one normal and one that moved in the opposite direction. A researcher touched a rock, and it floated into the air, hovering silently before falling again. Inside the kitchen, a cup of coffee froze solid in seconds. Even though the heater was on, panic started to grow. Vance ordered more soldiers to guard the ship. He blamed the scientists, saying their experiments were causing the problem. But Lena had a different idea. It's not us, she said to Tom. It's the editor. It's watching. It's learning. Tom frowned. Learning what? Us. Lena said, how we act, how we think, what we want. Inside the ship, the console was now fully active. The floating screen showed a list of reality properties: gravity, temperature, light, mass, time, structure. Each word glowed softly, waiting for input. Lena hesitated. I don't want to push it too far. Tom nodded. Then let's ask it something simple. He stepped forward. Editor, what is your purpose? The soft voice answered in their minds, to guide advanced species, to allow safe testing of universal code, to learn the user's intent. Lena whispered, it wants to know what we want. Tom thought carefully. Then he asked, why now? Why wake up after so long? You triggered core with emotion and trust. Signal confirmed compatibility. Trial begins. Lena looked surprised. It's a test. Tom agreed. We're being tested, but not with questions, with power. Vance didn't wait any longer. Later that day, he entered the ship with a group of soldiers and demanded control of the console. Step away. He told Lena and Tom, we're going to copy the data. Lena warned him, don't. The editor doesn't respond to force. Vance didn't care. His tech team tried to connect their own machines to the console. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then, the lights inside the ship turned red. The walls began to ripple like water. The console beeped loudly. A message appeared in large red letters. Unauthorized access detected. Lockdown initiated. Vance shouted, shut it off. But it was too late. The soldiers began to float into the air. Tools, weapons, and machines flew in every direction. The ship's walls shifted, becoming smooth and featureless. A glowing light surrounded Vance, and then he vanished. Gone. No scream, no sound, just gone. When the lights returned to normal, the ship released the rest of the team gently back to the floor. The console glowed again, calm but firm. Reality cannot be stolen. It must be chosen. Lena was shaking. Tom helped her stand. He's gone, she said. The ship erased him. Tom looked at the console. No, I think it moved him somewhere else. They didn't know where, and they didn't want to ask. Outside, the air was colder. The sky had returned to normal for now. The soldiers outside were scared. They had heard the alarms. They had seen Vance vanish. No one wanted to go near the ship now. Tom and Lena returned to the tent. We have to understand this, editor, Lena said, before someone else tries to use it again. Tom looked serious, or before it decides we've failed its test. Lena looked down at her tablet. I think the real test hasn't started yet. Tom looked outside, at the glowing ship in the ice. No, this was just the warning. That night, Lena had a strange dream. She saw a world floating in space, perfect and beautiful. People flew through the sky. No one grew old. No one got sick. There were no wars, no sadness. Just peace. But it felt empty. No one talked. No one laughed. No one cried. She woke up sweating, her heart racing. She looked outside the window of the tent and gasped. A tree had grown beside the alien ship. But trees didn't grow here. Not in this frozen land. She stepped out into the snow. Staring at the tree's green leaves shining under the auroras, reality had bent again, and the editor was still listening. Tom stood in front of the tree that had grown overnight beside the alien ship. The leaves were bright green, fresh and alive, in the middle of thick snow and ice. It looked impossible, but it was real. Lena stood beside him, slowly reaching out and touching the bark. "It's warm," she whispered, "like it's full of energy." Tom nodded slowly. "This didn't grow from the ground. The editor made it." The ship's glow had changed. It now pulsed in a soft rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. The air around it was still, but heavy as if waiting for something. They walked back into the ship's entrance. The soldiers who remained now kept their distance. Since Vance vanished, no one dared step inside unless they were ordered to, and no one was giving orders anymore. Tom and Lena reached the control room. The floating console lit up the moment they arrived. Users confirmed. Emotional link active. Memory access unlocked. Lena looked at Tom. "It wants to show us something." "Let it," Tom said. The room dimmed. A hologram filled the space. It showed stars, planets, and galaxies spinning through space. Then a world appeared, a beautiful planet with golden skies and silver oceans. Cities floated in the air. Creatures with long limbs and glowing skin moved peacefully through shining halls. This was Velari. The voice of the editor spoke inside their minds. Tom and Lena listened as the images changed. The Velari were seekers of perfection. They wished to remove suffering, pain, fear. They created the reality editor to shape their world with thought and code. The hologram showed the Velari using the editor. They changed their world. No more hunger, no more sickness, no more death. Everything looked perfect. But then something shifted. The images showed Velari citizens sitting silently. No one spoke. No one moved with emotion. Everything was calm but also lifeless. They removed all difficulty, but without challenge. They stopped growing. Without sadness, they forgot joy. Without fear, they forgot courage. Tom frowned. They became empty. Lena whispered. They made a perfect world but lost their souls. The editor continued. When they saw what they had done, they locked away the editor. They chose sleep over silence. They left the ship behind. A test for the next. The images faded. The ship brightened again. "You are the next." Tom sat down slowly, his mind spinning with questions. "They gave up everything," he said quietly, "because they thought perfection would make them happy." Lena sat beside him. "But they lost what made them alive." Tom looked at the console. "And now we're being tested the same way." The console responded instantly. "Correct. Your world now touches the editor's field. The test has begun." Lena checked her tablet. "Tom, the energy field is growing again, slowly, but it's spreading across the ice." Tom stood up. "If it reaches the nearest town, reality there could start changing too." Lena looked worried. "We have to slow it down or stop it." The console blinked. "Field cannot be stopped. Only guided. Editor requires final decision, harmony or freedom." Tom and Lena returned to their tent to rest, but sleep didn't come easily. Outside, the sky shimmered with colors. The air felt strange, like the world was holding its breath. Lena sat up in her cot. "Tom, do you think humans would choose harmony if given the chance?" Tom stared at the roof of the tent. "If harmony means no pain, no fear, maybe. But at what cost?" Lena looked at him. "Would you choose it?" Tom didn't answer for a long time. "I think life is special because it's not easy. If we remove all pain, we lose the reason to care." Lena smiled faintly. "Good answer." The next day, a group of officials arrived by aircraft. Scientists, politicians, and high-ranking officers stepped out, looking serious. They were part of the World Technology Council, the highest global authority for secret discoveries. They were given a quick report by the remaining team. When they heard about Vance, the strange changes, and the editor's power, they were alarmed but also interested. The lead official, Director Holt, asked to see the console. Tom and Lena stood by, watching as Holt entered the ship. The editor greeted him, but his tone was colder. "Unknown user. No link established." Holt turned to Tom. "Can you ask it to give us access?" Tom shook his head. It doesn't work like that. The editor chooses who to respond to. Holt frowned. Then tell it we want control. We represent Earth's highest council. The editor responded clearly. You do not represent Earth's soul. You represent Earth's power. Lena stepped forward. It knows what people really want. Holt looked annoyed. We need this technology to help the world. Tom replied, help or control? There was silence in the ship. Then the editor spoke again. Intent is the true test. Not knowledge, not power, only purpose. Outside, a new problem was rising. The sky was darker, and strange lights began to appear on the horizon. Snow turned blue in patches. People started to feel strange, lighter, faster, even a little smarter. Some joked that it was like Earth itself was waking up, but others were scared. The editor's field was changing more than matter. It was touching minds. Tom, Lena, and the others stood outside watching the sky. If this keeps going, Lena said, the whole planet could change. Tom nodded, and we still don't know what the final result would be. The tree beside the ship had grown taller. Flowers bloomed at its base, bright orange and purple flowers that had never existed on Earth before. It's testing imagination, Tom said. What we create, what we choose to keep. Lena looked at the flowers, and what we choose to let go. That night, Tom sat alone near the tree, watching the stars. He remembered something his father once told him when he was a child. The hardest choices are not between good and evil, but between good and better. He wondered what the editor would consider the better path, and then, without warning, a soft light appeared beside the tree, a glowing door. He stood up slowly. The editor's voice came gently into his mind. The door is open. The final stage is near. Prepare for decision. Tom looked at the glowing frame. He didn't know what was on the other side, but he knew the world would never be the same after they walked through it. The glowing door beside the tree stayed open all night. It made no sound. No heat came from it. Just light, soft, golden, and calm. Tom didn't go through it right away. He waited until morning. When the wind had settled and the camp was quiet, Lena stood beside him, staring at the light. It's not just a door, she said. It's a gate to the editor's test zone. Tom nodded slowly. The place where we prove who we really are. Behind them, Director Holt and the World Council. Team waited at a distance. They still couldn't enter the ship or touch the console. The editor had locked them out. It only speaks to you two, Holt had said, frustrated. Whatever's behind that door, find out what it wants and report everything. Tom hadn't answered. He wasn't doing this for the council anymore. He was doing it for Earth. As Tom and Lena stepped through the glowing frame, everything changed. They didn't feel their feet move. They didn't feel wind or cold. It was like blinking and then opening their eyes in a new world. They stood on a green hill under a wide sky. The sun was warm. The air soft. Strange trees grew nearby, their leaves shaped like stars. A river flowed through the valley, glowing blue as it moved. Tom turned slowly in a circle. This doesn't feel like Earth, he said. Lena looked around, her eyes wide. It's not. It's a simulation, a perfect test world. Suddenly, a voice spoke not from the air, but inside their minds. Welcome, users. This zone is under your control. Edit as needed. Show intent. A panel appeared in front of them. Floating in the air like glass, it showed a list of options. Create, change, remove, observe them, and Lena looked at each other. This is it, she whispered. The reality editor's true power. We can change anything here. They began slowly. Tom selected create, then thought of something simple, a small wooden bench. The air shimmered, and the bench appeared on the hill, perfectly shaped, smooth, and warm to the touch. Lena tried next. She imagined a tree with fruit that never spoiled. It appeared beside them instantly. Excited, they tried more. Tom made a shelter stronger than any tent, but soft as cloth. Lena created a water fountain that never ran dry. Animals appeared to kind. Peaceful creatures that looked like a mix between deer and birds. The valley became a peaceful land, shaped by thought. The editor watched silently. After a while, the test became more serious. The panel showed a new message. Edit human form. Option: heal or evolve. Tom paused. Heal, like a cure disease. Lena nodded slowly. Or evolve. Make ourselves smarter, stronger. They looked at each other. Let's test healing first. Tom said. He thought of his old injury, a scar on his leg from a fall years ago. The panel glowed. Scar removed. Muscle repaired. He felt no pain, just warmth. When he checked his leg, the scar was gone. It was like it had never happened. Lena looked amazed. This could change everything. We could cure every illness on Earth. But then they saw another option. Remove fear. Remove pain. Remove sadness. Tom read the words slowly. That's what the Velari did. Lena nodded. They removed everything hard and lost what made them feel alive. They didn't choose any of those options. Not yet. As they walked through the valley, the world changed with them. When Lena thought of music, soft songs filled the air. When Tom wished for night, the sky slowly darkened, revealing stars that moved gently in patterns. But then a figure appeared. It was a Velari, tall, silver-skinned, with glowing eyes. It didn't speak, but sent thoughts directly into their minds. This is not a reward. It is a reflection. What you create shows who you are. Tom stepped forward. We want to help our world. We want to use this power for good. The Velari's voice was calm. Good must be tested. Would you save the world at the cost of freedom? Would you make peace if it meant losing choice? Lena replied, we don't want to control people. We want to offer help. The Velari slowly raised its hand. The world around them began to shift. Suddenly, they were standing in a copy of Earth, a busy city full of people. But everything was different. No one was angry. No one was sad. Everyone smiled, worked, and lived in perfect peace. At first, it looked beautiful. But as Tom and Lena walked the streets, they noticed something strange. No one laughed out loud. No one cried. No one questioned anything. Children played, but their games were quiet. Adults spoke, but their voices were flat. It was peace, but it was empty. A new message appeared in the air. This is harmony. No conflict. No pain. No freedom. Final choice pending. Tom whispered, this is what happens if we choose perfection. Lena looked around. They gave up their emotions, their dreams, their identity. She looked at the people and asked, will we really want this for Earth? Tom shook his head. No. Without struggle, there's no growth. Without pain, there's no strength. The Velari appeared again. Then showed the other choice. The world changed again. Now they were in a version of Earth like the real one, flawed, noisy, alive. They saw a child scrape her knee and cry. A man give her a bandage. A stranger offer comfort. They saw a storm hit a town, but people worked together to repair homes and share food. They saw war zones, but also peace talks. Sickness, but also doctors who never gave up. Sadness, but also love. It wasn't perfect, but it was human. Tom stood silently. Lena touched his arm. This is what we are. The editor's voice returned. Your intent is clear. You do not seek control. You seek meaning. Back in the valley, the test zone began to fade. The sky turned white. The Velari figure bowed its head. You have passed the first trial. The editor is ready for final command. Tom asked, what does that mean? The voice answered, you may now shape the path. Will you use the editor for change or return it to sleep? Lena looked at Tom. It's time to decide. He nodded. Let's go back. They stepped through a new glowing door and returned to the real world. The ship was still glowing. The soldiers and scientists watched as Tom and Lena stepped out. Combat changed. Tom turned to Director Holt. We've seen what the editor can do. Holt asked, can we use it? Tom replied softly, only if we know who we really are. Lena looked at the console. The editor gave us power, but it's waiting for our final decision. Tom looked out at the snowy land, the tree still standing tall, and he knew the final choice would shape the future of Earth forever. The sky over the Arctic base was the same. Cold winds moved across the white snow. The sun barely rose above the horizon, but something in the air had changed. The editor was awake now. The Velari starship glowed brighter than before. The energy Inside it no longer felt silent, it pulsed, like a giant heart waiting to beat again. Tom stood outside, hands in his jacket pockets, watching the light move across the hull. His thoughts were heavy. He and Lena had returned from the test zone 2 days ago, but the world was no longer the same. Lena joined him, holding to hot drinks. She gave one to Tom and said, "They want an answer." Tom nodded slowly. "I know." Inside the research tent, Director Holt sat with the council's virtual representatives on large monitors. Lena and Tom stood before them. Holt cleared his throat. "You've been given something beyond anything we understand. You passed the test. Now what comes next?" Tom took a breath. "The editor gave us a choice. It will let us use its power to change things, heal the planet, cure disease, end war. But we also saw what happens when control goes too far," Lena added. "Peace without freedom becomes silence. We don't want to erase what makes us human." The councilman from Europe leaned forward. "Can it be limited, used only to fix disasters? To help people who are suffering?" Lena answered. "Yes, it can. But the editor doesn't work like a machine. It listens to intent. It responds to honesty." Tom added, "If we use it with greed, or fear, or lies, it will stop listening, or worse." The council fell silent. Director Holt asked, "So what's your plan?" Tom and Lena looked at each other. "We don't make the decision alone," Tom said. "The editor offered the power to us, but the future must be decided by everyone." Later that night, Tom stood inside the Velari ship once more. The console pulsed gently under his hand. He spoke clearly. "We want to let Earth decide. Can you help us?" A soft light rose from the console. The editor's voice echoed in his mind. Connection open. Message mode engaged. A glowing sphere floated up from the console and hovered in the air. Tom stepped back as it rose into the sky, and then it shot upward, leaving a golden trail behind it. Across the world, strange lights appeared in the sky. Not weapons, not ships. Just glowing orbs, like stars, floating above cities and towns. Each one carried a simple message. In every language, we have found a tool of great power. It can change our world for better or worse. We ask all of you, what kind of future do you want? Peace without choice? Health without freedom? Or a future where we still make mistakes but learn together? Choose wisely. Earth is listening. At first, people didn't know what to think. Some called it a trick. Others thought it was fake. But soon, more and more people believed. In the days that followed, millions of responses came in. Children drew pictures of forests full of life. Artists wrote songs about second chances. Old people sent letters asking for cures, not for themselves, but for the next generation. Some wanted the editor to fix the climate. Others begged for peace in war-torn lands. But many said the same thing: let us stay human. Help us, but don't control us. Tom and Lena read thousands of these responses. Sometimes they cried. Sometimes they smiled. It was like Earth had spoken from one heart. Then the Velari ship responded. A wide circle of light appeared outside the ship, forming a glowing platform on the snow. The editor's voice echoed from the ship, deep and calm. Majority intent confirmed. Preparing limited activation. Designate control structure. Tom looked at Lena. Control structure? Lena thought for a moment. It wants someone to guide the changes. A group, maybe. People it can trust. Tom nodded. Not politicians. Not generals. People from everywhere, every age, every land. Within days, the United Earth Committee was formed. A group of ordinary people, teachers, farmers, doctors, inventors, builders, even students, each chosen by open vote from every nation. They were not given power to rule, but to protect the editor's use, to ask, not command, to guide, not force, and the editor accepted them. The console inside the Velari ship lit up fully for the first time. The words glowed on the display. Guidance accepted. Begin restoration. The first change came quietly. The deserts of Africa received gentle rain, but not floods, just enough to help crops grow again. In a remote island, a sick girl woke up cured. The rare disease she had carried for years simply Disappeared. Old forests in South America began to heal. Trees grew faster but naturally. Not changed, just supported. No explosions. No cities in the clouds. No magic. Just hope. The world watched as the editor worked, but always through people. It gave tools. It answered requests. But it never forced anything. Tom saw the change in people too. Neighbors began to talk more. Communities helped one another. Scientists, now backed by editor guidance, made clean energy cheaper than ever. Nations held their first real peace summits without weapons on the table. Lena stood on a cliff one evening, watching the sun dip below the sea. This isn't just the editor, she whispered. This is us, finally listening to each other. Tom joined her, smiling. It helped us see who we could be. But one day, a warning appeared. The console blinked red. Unknown activity detected. Unauthorized access attempt. Tom and Lena rushed into the ship. A message was flashing on the screen. Someone, somewhere, was trying to bend the editor's power. Trying to create something dangerous. Tom stared at the screen. Lena said, "They want to take control." Tom looked serious. We knew this might happen. The editor's voice spoke again. Final security layer must be engaged. Choose, restrict, or release. Tom clenched his fists. If we restrict too much, we lose progress. But if we release full control, someone could break the balance, Lena whispered. There's still a test left, isn't there? The ship pulsed gently. The final trial begins now. Inside the glowing Velari starship, the walls pulsed red. Warning lights blinked faster. Tom and Lena stood at the console, reading the message over and over again. Unauthorized access detected. Origin, Earth, source mast, high level. Override attempt. The editor's calm voice echoed in their minds. Final security protocol triggered. Choose, restrict full system, or allow global trust mode. Tom looked at Lena, his face tense. If we restrict the editor, we lose the progress we made. But if we open everything, someone could twist it. Lena nodded. Someone is trying to rewrite reality for their own gain. If they succeed, it could destroy everything. Outside the ship, the snowstorm had returned. But this storm felt different. Strange flashes of light lit up the sky. The editor was under attack not with weapons, but with code. In a secret bunker far from the Arctic base, a powerful computer system hummed loudly. A man named Dr. Rennick sat before a wall of screens. His fingers moved quickly over the keyboard. Rennick was once part of the early research team, but he had his own ideas. The world shouldn't decide, he whispered to himself. A few smart people should. People like me. He wasn't trying to destroy the editor. He was trying to take control of it. Why share power? Rennick muttered. When I can become the editor. Back at the base, the air became charged. The ground trembled slightly. Lena touched the console. Editor, can we find the source of the attack? The ship responded with a projection of map of Earth. A red dot blinked in a mountain range. Tom narrowed his eyes. That's not too far from the original signal tower. He must be using old military satellites. They both knew what they had to do. A team was quickly formed. Tom, Lena, and a small group of trusted allies boarded a fast transport jet. The editor had improved aircraft performance, and they reached the mountain base in hours. As they flew over the range, they saw strange distortions in the air. Small pieces of land seemed to flicker like reality was glitching. The editor is fighting back, Lena said, but it doesn't want to hurt anyone. Tom added, if Rennick forces it too far, it might shut down completely. They landed quietly near the edge of the mountain. The team moved fast through the snow-covered forest. Lena held a small device linked to the editor. It pulsed stronger as they got closer. Inside the bunker, Rennick smiled. Almost there, he said. Once I rewrite the base code, the editor will see me as the voice of Earth. Suddenly, alarms rang in the bunker. Warning, the system announced, editor-connected team approaching. Rennick growled, I'll stop them. The door to the bunker was locked, but Lena used the editor's signal to unlock it gently. No explosion, no violence. They entered carefully. Tom led the way. Rennick, he called. We know what you're doing. Rennick's voice echoed through speakers. Of course you do. But you don't understand. Earth needs a single guide, not a group of dreamers. Lena stepped forward. You want to control the world through the editor. But that's not what it was made for. Rennick laughed. And how do you know? Did the aliens tell you everything? Tom replied calmly. No. But the editor shows what people truly want. You're going against the voice of the planet. Suddenly, the lights went dark, then red. A new message appeared on the main screen. Override process at 92%. Interference critical. Core shut down in 3 minutes. Lena gasped. He's almost done. If he succeeds, the editor will lock itself or fall into his hands. Tom turned to their team. We need to stop the process. Lena ran to a side console. Editor, can you link me to the root? The device on her wrist glowed brightly. Access granted. Emergency command mode active. In the final minute, Lena and Tom worked together. They bypassed the command Rennick had injected, one line at a time. It wasn't about hacking, it was about truth. Lena whispered, show the editor who we are. Let it feel the world's choice again. Outside, the glowing orbs reappeared across the earth, just as they had in the beginning. People saw the sky light up once more and responded again. Not with fear, but with hope. The editor felt it. The console blinked. Override halted. Core restored. Control secured by Earth consensus. The lights in the bunker returned to normal. Rennick slumped in his chair. I was so close. Tom walked over slowly. This isn't about winning, Rennick. It's about trust. That's what the editor listens to. Security took Rennick away peacefully, back at the Arctic base. The Villari ship pulsed with a calm blue light. The editor spoke one final message. Earth has passed the final test. Emotional clarity, moral judgment, and unity of purpose confirmed. System will now enter passive guidance mode. Future changes must be approved through full global resonance. Lena smiled. It means the editor will still help, but only if we all agree. No single voice can change the world alone. Tom looked out at the snowy horizon. That's what makes us ready. 3 months later, Earth was already different. Not perfect, but better. Wars paused. Healing began. Forests grew back. People smiled more. Not because the editor gave them everything, but because it reminded them of who they were. The United Earth Committee became a symbol of unity. They met not in a palace, but on a simple platform beside the Villari ship. Tom and Lena stayed part of it. But they were no longer leaders, just helpers. The editor now rested silently inside the ship, its light steady, its work done for now. One evening, a small boy visited the base with his parents. He looked at the ship with wide eyes and asked Tom, "Is this magic?" Tom knelt down and smiled. Not magic, just something left behind by someone who believed we could grow. The boy asked, "Will it ever leave?" Tom looked at the stars and answered, "Maybe one day, when it knows we don't need it anymore." The boy nodded. "I think we'll be ready." The end.